let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everybody and welcome Aaron especially for taking time out to judge our work. And first thing I got up, I don't know if anybody travels out west or plans to travel out west this summer, but the UP STEAM schedule is going to be Big Boy number 4014 is going to leave their home base up there in Utah. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the name of the town. But anyway, it's going out to California, Roseville, California. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this is going back to Ogden, Utah. That's their home base. It'll go back to Utah the 20th and 21st. So anybody going out west, if you're out along the route, you can go to the UP STEAM schedule too and actually get the exact route. So if anybody's interested or going to be traveling out in that direction, I can send you the link to that, which you can pull up the exact route and what times it'll be in different stations out there. Where it'll stop overnight or where it'll make a scheduled stop. What was the last year that was here, Bill? I know you and I went down. We went down to the Union Station and saw it down there.
Yeah.
You remember what?
I remember what?
You remember what year that was? You and I went down there to the Union Station when Big Boy came through here.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm afraid I don't. It's quite a while ago.
Yeah, it's been like 2-3 years at least. I mean, at least 3 years, maybe 4. But that was the first time I got to see Big Boy out and moving on the rails. Quite a sight. Because I went down to, geez, now I can't remember the name of the town. Down on 69 Highway down here in about 2 hours south of Kansas City, and got some video of it, going down the rails. That's a massive engine. My God, that a massive engine. Okay, the next thing I've got is our 2024, 2025 assigned subjects. Has everybody seen the final list that I sent out?
Yes.
Did you see that, Tom?
Well, there were some additions. Was it after the additions were made or the comments from?
Yeah, I sent out to some additional comments on some of them. Try to get a little bit more clarification on the description, but basically the list is the same. So we have framing, balance, silhouette, reflection, simplicity, street photography, geometric patterns, shadows, and backlighting. Those were the 9 I wound up with that had the most votes to keep. The foreground, background, and golden triangle were the 3 that were eliminated.
Yeah.
So, did everybody else see the last email I sent out with the edited comments? I put that in blue type in the paragraphs.
Yeah.
Spencer, Bill, Travis, did you guys see those?
Yeah, I forgot a copy of it, but I don't have it here right.
What was that the most recent email or was that
Yes. That was the most recent.
I don't think I saw that one, but
I added to was the description on some of the subjects, not on each one, but some of the subjects. Okay, let me go over here and get that open.
actually I can take a look too.
Yeah, geometric patterns. The original description said geometric patterns are a collection of repeating shapes or altered shapes creating a cohesive design. And then I added these patterns can be natural or man-made.
Yeah.
And then look for unique shapes or patterns. Linear or circular lines may or may not be necessary, may or may not necessarily create a geometric shape or design. It doesn't have to be squares and circles or triangles. I mean, anything that makes a repetitive design that comes up with an overall form, that's kind of what I'm trying to lean into. Not trying to limit it to square buildings or or around circles. And then the other one on backlighting, I added that lighting from, it said originally lighting from behind or beneath the subject. Then I added can greatly enhance your subject. Some level of transparency, allowing light to pass through your subject will create a more interesting photograph, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But that was kind of what I added to those, just to, kind of open up the window for anybody to want to, push that out a little bit,
Didn't get that. I didn't get that one.
You didn't get that one? Well, I'll
It,
get it
it's
to you.
it's within the document, Tom. That's
Yeah,
attached.
and like I say, if we need to, redefine some of these or clean up the language, we can still do that, even if we take the list for what it is right now. So,
I'm sorry. I didn't open up the bottom part. You're right. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
oh, so you do have it, Tom?
Yeah, I didn't open up the attachment. My bad.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
There's Mr.
Got it.
Schaff. Good evening, Mr. Schaff.
Hi, Bill.
Evening, guys.
So we were just, I was just polling the gallery here if everybody had gotten my last email about our 2024, 2025 assigned subjects and the descriptions. I updated some of the language and some of the descriptions.
Okay,
Did you see that one?
I haven't looked at it.
Oh, okay.
Probably got it.
Okay, I used some blue text to show you what I added from the original.
Okay,
But as far as the 9 we have, if eliminate the foreground, background, and golden triangle, is everybody comfortable with the remaining 9 subjects?
Yep.
yep.
Okay. So is there a motion to accept the signed subject list?
I'll do some.
Yes.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Anybody opposed? I'll just do it that way because I don't know if everybody's anybody opposed to that list? Okay. So now the next question, do you want to take the list in order as it is, or do we want to swap any of them around? And again, that decision doesn't have to be made right now.
Well, I'm satisfied with the way it is, but here again, when you get different judges, you may have to change something.
Yeah, I say Raymond will probably end up doing the framing again for us. And that was actually one he really liked. He liked that framing idea.
I would just say street photography when it's warm.
Yeah,
Forget December, January, and February.
but if we need to kind of move those around a little bit, we can. Like the backlighting, that can be done. It's not it's last on the list, but that can be done. In the colder months if you're doing a studio shot. Simplicity could be a studio shot. Like I say, several of these could be.
Yeah.
It just depends, what order you guys want to keep them in. So, we're going to plan something for winter. We want to push those out towards the end of the year next year. That way you have time to work them over and get them ready.
Yeah, like street photography in the winter. That's a good idea.
Right. Yeah, we could do
Yeah.
that. And like I said, we do something like in the winter, we can push it out till springtime. That way it's already there. You had time to work on it, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's up to you guys whenever you want to do them.
Unless you like cold weather, some people do, and they like snow, so
Oh yeah. Yeah.
have at it.
Okay. All right. So my next question to make a motion to close the voting on the signed subjects. I think, didn't we just do that?
Yep.
Okay. So now it's assigned to keep this list. We can still work on this list and shuffle them around if we need to. So now I want to go on to old business. Anybody have any old business they want to bring up?
No,
No.
I'm good.
Nothing? Okay, Aaron,
Yeah.
the floor is yours.
Oh, it's mine. Okay.
Beat us up.
Okay. Well, how about this? Let me see if I can. Um,
Oh, wait, let me,
what's the?
let me
I'm
turn,
sorry.
let me turn on the sharing.
Okay. I was going to ask if I could share the screen. Yeah.
All right, try it now.
All right. So let me. Y'all see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What I did was I just pulled up all of these, all of the photographs in whatever order they came up in is what they came up in. I've got my rankings, my top 3 for each category. I've got set off here to the side. So these are up in no particular order. Um, these are were all interesting, and I want to make absolutely sure. I think if I recall, I think I have 11. Is how many photos were in the folder that I had the link to, and I checked it again today, and I checked it again right before I logged in. So
Yes.
anyway, does that sound right? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
So right now I've got the assigned subject, which was, if I recall correctly, Pareidolia. Pareidolia is a term that really I caught on to in grad school. I was studying phenomenology, the concept of how, moving lights tricks the brains and the brain, and how the brain typically, when we look at things in a particular order, and it's for some of us, it's very much hardwired into our thinking and just into our kind of our psyche when we're looking at anything, including a photograph. Some obvious things, we'll always find the thing that's in focus first. We will, our eye tends to get drawn to, heavy contrast. So we tend to look at the really contrasty things first. Pareidolia is, I love the idea of that being a photo assignment. And I say that because it can be easy to do, but it can also be very difficult to find. So good for you all for tackling this as a subject. I think it's making me actually think about that as an assignment for one of my photo classes. Regardless, let's go ahead and get started. Let me see if I can move this out of the way so I could see. This is in the assigned category. This is Eagle on the Rocks by Tom Wedbush. It took me a little bit when I'm looking at this photograph, it took me a little bit. Obviously, I'm looking for the eagle on the rocks. And initially, for some reason, I started looking for the eagle inside of the rocks. And then I
Oh.
eventually found the outline in the clouds.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah. So I found the outline in the clouds. And all of a sudden, that eagle, it is a focal element. Once you see it, you can't really unsee it. And so I was surprised at how much finding the eagle in the rock changed the picture for me altogether. Just from a classical standpoint, it's a great photograph in a lot of ways. It's interesting that we've got the bush in the lower right-hand corner and the tree kind of encroaching in the upper left-hand corner. Those two visual elements kind of serve as a context for, where the photographer is, where they're standing. And it definitely gives us more of a context for the size of the rocks. I'm sure in person that was, literally an awesome view, like huge. Regardless, the colors in the rocks in black and white are very interesting. There's a lot of visual content and things to connect with in the rocks itself, and I can easily see where anybody would have just taken this photo because it was, just a beautiful view. But it's once I found, like I said, I'm going to go back to my original statement and say, once I found the eagle in the rock, suddenly the place itself took on a more of a mystique. The photograph itself had more of a narrative. It invites the viewer, once you find the eagle in the rock, it invites that viewer to make up a story about the eagle. Why is this where the eagle lives? Is this some fantastical creature? It's obviously it's huge. So this became much more of the photograph for me transitioned between just a photograph that you're looking at, and I could pick apart from I say or put together from more of a classical standpoint, and it literally became somewhat more endearing, I guess is the best word. there's a connection now once you find that eagle in the rock. Where were you when you took this?
Well, this was the cliff dwellings down in New Mexico,
Okay.
and my wife and another guy went up and climbed through it. There's no way I was going up there, so I just played around with my camera, just, looking around at the different rock formations and whatever. And this kind of caught I guess you could almost name this about 3 different ways, but just happened to look up and just kind of see the cloud formation. And I thought, holy cow, that could be kind of a mysterious thing, an eagle, American eagle,
Mhm.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So
just asking, you saw the eagle and that you
Yeah.
knew that when you took the picture?
yes, yes, yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. Just because I'm curious, I lived in Colorado for 13 years. Do you remember the colors that were in those rocks? Because a lot of times there's purples and some other things.
No, it was just different, different shades, as you can kind of see in the black and white. Yeah, I don't really recall any, but there may have been down lower, there may have been maybe, streaks of the red clay and things like that, but I honestly don't remember. I really don't. It's been 3 years ago.
Okay. The reason why I ask is on occasion I've had reason to make one of my color photographs black and white when I was in Colorado and I was taking pictures of rock formations like this. And I was really surprised the different ways you can make something black and white. You could desaturate, you can make a gray tone. There's a lot of different ways of going about it. When you start playing with some of the highlights, how some of those highlights and shadows, how some of those layers of the rock will really start to pop out and some of them don't. That looks like one of the most natural photographs. I mean, this looks like it's true to the area. So great shot. Great
Thank
shot.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
all I did was flip it to black and white in Photoshop.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's been edited really in any other major way.
I don't edit a lot.
Okay.
I really don't, but
Okay. Yeah, that tracks with what I'm looking at. Okay. All
Hey,
right.
Tom. Hey,
I'm
Tom.
sorry.
You know what caught my eye when I first looked at that, and in the title? I looked up there at the top of it, right between those 2 peaks there, off right at the center, and there's a little something protruding out from that. I thought that was a bird, a shape of a bird's head, like an eagle's head at first. I'm looking at it, I thought, wait, is that it? Is that? And then I thought, nah, that can't be it. Then I see the cloud. But boy, I was staring at that thing 6 ways to Sunday. I thought that was your subject, but I got it
I
after
guess I
after I looked at it for a little bit.
I should have renamed it maybe. Whatever. Eagle in the
But-
clouds.
Yeah. Well, no, anyway, it's a great shot. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Calvin, I'm the same way. I got tracked on this that black splotch just to the left of that tower that's on the far right. I thought that was like an eagle in reverse or something.
Sure.
And as I sat back and I relaxed my eyes, that's when I saw the cloud. So
Yep.
yeah.
About the same here. I had to back off and I looked at it and thought, oh, I see it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else about this photo before we move on? Okay. Moving on. Great to see you. Calvin, this is Calvin Burgess. This is your photograph. This is one of the best. This is actually one of my favorite from the category, to be perfectly honest. And it's because of its simplicity.
Aaron,
My mother was a
Searching.
semi-professional
wrong.
photographer, and I asked her what her aesthetic was, and she said elegance. And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Think
Aaron,
Chanel No. 5 commercials." And I
don't see
started
it.
we
put that
don't.
together.
It didn't
Do what?
fit.
You've got the
we-
wrong image up. You still have Tom's
Yeah,
image
Tom's.
up.
Yeah, Tom's.
Well, hang on. It says I'm not sharing. Well, this is interesting.
Do you have 2 screens?
No, I don't. I'm actually what I'm sharing is just the that one app. So hang on a second. I'm going to stop
Preview?
sharing. I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if I can. hopefully I don't have to do this every time.
When you're sharing, pick your screen instead of.
I was going to say, I think I'm just going to choose my whole desktop. So now
There it
you can
is.
see everything.
There
There
you
you go. All right.
There
So
you
how about this? Back to this. So I was talking about my mom's aesthetic, and she turned me on to the concept that minimalism in photography can be a very powerful visual medium. And I think this actually represents that very well. It's also one of the most classic examples of pareidolia, right? I mean, you can't not see the face in this grate, and it's kind of kitschy and it's kind of fun. Like I said, it's actually one of my favorites. I had a question though about the gradation, the fading off of the light. It looks like the light is falling off on what looks like a handle coming down into the grate. Calvin, can you talk more about how you put this thing together?
Well, I did this sitting at my desk. I've put a small light inside so that you can see the back of the cheese grater through the opening that looks like the mouth. And then I used just some soft lighting on the outside to highlight it. And yeah, I kind of let the handle fall off because I figured, well, that really didn't add, almost, photoshopped it out completely. I thought, no, you need that on there because that kind of tells you what it is and how it's orientated. But yeah, that was just the best way I could come up with not putting too much highlight on that handle. I kind of wanted to draw attention down more to what looked like two eyes and a mouth.
Yeah. Well, that's a great decision. And the reason why I say that is because, the problem, I think, and I tell my students this all the time, is when you start photoshopping something because you're attached to an outcome of what that photo is going to look like, a lot of times the photo can get altered beyond what the photographer intends. So I feel like if you had taken the handle out completely, you would have left us with a metal looking face, and we would have, probably had more questions about what it was we were looking at, as opposed to accepting that this is I say it's a grate. It looks like two grates. It's an interesting grater just as it is. However, I was interested to hear you say that you put lights into the grate itself. I'm not seeing that here. Is there a light in there? Is that the
if you
reason
look
why I can
through the
see?
opening that is supposed to be the mouth, you
Mhm.
can see the back side of that grater. This is just a regular four-sided kitchen cheese grater or whatever you want to
Oh,
chop up. But on the back
okay.
side, you kind of get that mesh on that real fine. It's
Yeah,
like if you take something like a hard nut or something like that, and scrape it on the backside.
yeah,
So I thought, well, that added a little bit of depth to the inside of the thing. So
yeah.
I wasn't trying to make it look like teeth. It just I want to give it a little bit of depth. So I put a little light inside there to shine up through the center of it.
Interesting. I have to be honest, it's really hard for me to see that, and I'm usually pretty good about dissecting this, but um is that explaining how I can see the holes off on the right-hand side that are in the shadow?
Yeah, they're just slightly in the shadow. That's probably more from the soft lighting I had hitting the front of this thing. And I left it a little bit turned so that way it, kind of helps allude to what this thing actually is.
Yeah.
It's like I say, it's just a metal cheese grater. Everybody's probably got one in their kitchen.
Yeah.
I was just digging through my wife's stuff out there one day and looked at it and I thought, hey, there's a face. So
Nice. Well, again, this is just one of those feel good photos. It's definitely one of my favorite from the category. So, yeah. Anybody else have any questions or anything about this photo?
I think it's also a lot of fun.
It is. It is. It's kind of hard not to smile. And
Yeah.
how about this? I will say this when comparing this photo with the last photo. This is where when you get the assignment to find Pareidolia, if you can choose to make it in some ways, or choose to find it in your immediate surroundings, and that's where this could be easier as an assignment. You try to find something that looks like something else, right? But for the people that don't think through, I can make this, or I can go looking locally for this, this becomes a monumental task of I've got to go find a cloud somewhere that has
Sure.
you know, something in it, or I need to find, you know, Mickey Mouse on the side of a cow, or, you know, Mother Mary on the toast, or, you know, whatever it is. Yeah, that becomes a lot harder. So good for you, Calvin, for thinking through that. It's a cool photo. It's happy. All right, moving on. This is Oh Hello by Spencer Carey. This is a beautiful photograph from just the standpoint of when you're looking at, you know, the exposure, the clarity. It's, you know, there's a lot of things going on here. From a pareidolia aspect, what's funny is that I always looked at the Norelco razor like it had a face in it, and it, you know, it's almost like, oh, like, you know, it's saying, oh, hello. I can see where you'd come up with a title for that. But what's specifically interesting about this photograph is that there is this black object. It's part of the razor, no doubt, but this black object underneath the razor that actually could also be a mouth. So then I started going back and forth. Is the bottom circle the mouth, or is the bottom circle the nose and then the mouth is down below? Do you see that?
I was thinking it as the tongue.
Okay, good. It is cute. What's funny is that it took me a second, but once I saw that again, just like the first picture, I couldn't unsee it. So now that you mentioned it's the tongue, that even makes more sense.
Well, I mean, I guess you could think it's like the nose or the mouth. It's like whatever, like you think, but like when I was taking it, I was like, that's the tongue. Like these are the eyes. This is the mouth.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't really have a nose. This razor, it's maybe like the middle, but that's beside the point.
Well, you know, but that's the cool thing about pareidolia. There's no wrong answer, right? We all see what we see. So I was looking at this, that initially the two eyes and then the mouth, but then it became two eyes. The bottom circle became the nose, and then that black object. What is that black object, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it's just actually, I think it's like the button that you push to turn it on, and and it like curves like this into the razor.
So let me ask you, is this something that you thought of immediately when you saw the assignment, or did you the assignment then find this?
Well, I had like 3 options for this assignment. One was like a grate, or what do they call? Like when you're just like walking, like the water grates, and there were like 3 screws in there, and then there was like the KC water, which looked like a nose, and then there was another one option that I had was just like a pole on it, and there were a bunch of just staples in there, and I saw like maybe this one staple, and then there was another staple that looked like a face, and then I saw this, and I was like, oh, this is way better than both of those.
Nice, nice. Just real quick, what kind of a camera did you use to take this with? Was it just
my Nikon D750?
Okay. It's a great photo, and the clarity is this is in a lot of ways a wonderful photo, and the depth of field that allows the front to be completely in focus, and then that black, whatever it is, I guess the button is a little bit blurry. I think that helps kind of create the facial features. So yeah, it's cropped pretty tight, but you know, when you're looking at pareidolia, you want people to focus on the one object. And yeah, you definitely you captured that very well.
Thank you. I also did not want to show my countertop.
Well, you know, there's always questions about that. You know, I've talked to my class about you know, everything in the frame counts, right? So if there was something else on the countertop that, you know, we're going to be focused on the mess that you left, you know, after
I don't want to show that.
So good for you. Like, this is cropped very well. It's like I said, it's tight. It's in nice and tight, but I think for the assignment, it works. Okay.
Hey, Spencer.
Yep.
I got one question.
Yes.
I love it. First of all, I love this. I love this shot. Yeah, I love it. But anyway, I'm curious. Does this particular razor have a pop-up sideburn attachment?
Actually, it's on the backside. So like you
I'm
just
just okay. I'm just wondering if
like
the
yeah.
angle of it or the height of it, if you pop that up, if you'd pop that up, if it would look like a little flat top hairdo, you know, if you would, up between the eyes. I gotta look at that. Thought, man, it needs a little hair. But I love this. This is a great shot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Calvin. That's I hadn't even thought about that. I knew where you were going when you said the trimmer. It
Yeah.
would look like a flat top haircut. That's a good point. It's a good point. All right, anything else with this photo? Okay. Moving on. All right. Rabbit, this is correct me if I'm, it's Bill, right?
Right.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. This is absolutely one of my favorite shots, period. To see once I saw the rabbit in the wood, it became a character for me. When I initially saw the picture, I thought it was an interesting piece of wood, and it's the dominant compositional element within the frame. I thought it was interesting initially that you would cut off the left edge of that piece of wood. But I don't, and I say that only because there are cars in the upper left-hand side. I don't know if, did you see the rabbit and take a picture of this, or was this just a beautiful piece of wood and you thought, I've got to take that picture, and then found the rabbit later? I'm curious about that.
Well, oddly enough, it was a tree that we had cut down. And that was the first thing I saw was an animal in there. Well, it kind of looks like a rabbit.
Yeah.
And then I had neighbors that came by. Two guys came by and they wanted to take the piece of wood, but it was about 4 inches thick and heavier than heck. I couldn't even lift it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, good for you. This is one of the strongest, I feel, examples of pareidolia. Is there anybody here that can't see the rabbit? Okay. I'm just curious. It's absolutely beautiful. The rabbit, because it's in the wood with all the cuts and the marks and the different colors that are within the wood itself, makes this really truly a fantastical character. I could easily see where someone with just even a little bit of pencil drawing art skills, or someone who can stain really well, could stain this piece of wood and really bring that rabbit more to life. Yeah, this is absolutely beautiful. I got lost in this. And here's the other thing about this photograph, and I talk about fantastical, these are the pareidolia is exactly the type of thing that's going to ignite the imagination anyway. So this is a really busy photograph. There's a lot of visual eye candy in this, everything from the texture of the bark. There's the texture of the wood itself. I feel like I can reach into this photograph and feel those cut marks in the wood. I mean, it's tactile that way. And then of course there's all these little shavings that are at the bottom edge of the frame. So there's all this visual content going on all around this piece of wood, and yet it's easy to get lost in that piece of wood itself. And that shape, that odd shape of the wood, is just this visual element that stands out. It really does pop out against the more dark background. Did you use any vignetting or anything to help make that pop?
Yeah, I kind of
Okay.
tried to darken the background. Because
And it was a good choice to do so. I really feel like, if you step back from your computer screen, and I'm going to for just a second, I don't even know what shape that could be pareidolia in and of itself, just the outline of that white piece of wood. It's just a dominant figure up front, and then to find something in the middle of it that, it has a different texture. It still has a lot going on, but it's a very different type of busyness, visual busyness, than the bark and then the shavings down below, right? It's the cuts, it's the way that the colors in the wood all kind of blend together. It's absolutely beautiful. Did you end up doing anything with this piece of wood?
no, because like I said, it was too heavy.
Too heavy? Okay.
That was a huge tree.
Yeah, I bet it was. I'll bet it, and if that thing's 4 inches thick, I can't fathom how much that thing weighs. Yeah, that's gotta be heavy. Anyway, yeah, good for you for seeing that. Good for you for seeing, and this was in your yard?
Yeah. I don't know
Okay.
how old the tree was. It was a silver maple, but I think probably our house was built in the late 50s. So I suspect it was probably planted about that time.
Okay. Well, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And again, it's definitely one of my favorites from the assigned section. So
Thank you.
uh, yeah, any other questions or comments about this photo before I move on?
I got one comment.
Yeah.
I may be wrong on this name, but is anybody familiar with Nakashima Furniture? It's a Japanese furniture maker who took pieces of wood like this, cut them down to a usable thickness, like a inch and a half or 2 inches, and he used the patterns and shapes in the wood to make furniture, tabletops. Bill, you got a Nakashima rabbit right there. Could have his stuff wasn't built or made. I think his stuff was made in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and today it's worth thousands. It's unbelievable what his furniture brings at an auction now. But yeah, you got a Nakashima table. I saw that. I thought, hey, there. If that guy would have seen that, he would have took it off of your hands.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's was my first thought is after I saw the rabbit, and I just thought that's so obvious, but also beautiful. It to me, that's just a piece of artwork waiting to be made.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It's beautiful.
gorgeous. Yeah. All right. I think this is the last one from the category. This is Tree Man. Is it Dennis?
Yeah, he's not here this evening.
Okay. Dennis Lindell. All right.
Yeah.
This is also a really good example of Pareidolia. This is one of the few that the second it came up, there's no question there's an angry person in the tree. But it's also it's funny. It's obvious, but it's not obvious. It's not like I don't know other examples. Actually, almost like Calvin's. Calvin, when you saw the grater, you saw the smiley face. I mean, I almost wonder if that wasn't manufactured that way. In this case, this is just nature that created this very grumpy looking face.
Yeah.
Again, I think it was a good choice. I'm willing to bet that this is the same type of there's some dodging. I'm going to either say dodging and burning that went on the tree itself, and or probably also vignetting that happened around the edges to really make it the way the lighting falls on this tree and the way that it was edited makes it look like, for me, and I think this is even funnier because it's an angry looking face, but it makes it look like if you remember when you were a kid and someone was telling a ghost story at a campfire and they put the flashlight underneath their face so that it shined up.
Yep.
I feel like the light is shining up on this tree in kind of that creepy way that people used to tell ghost stories. And because of the vignetting and what's happening around the edges, the busyness again of the tree bark, all the texture and the detail, it really brings you in. There's tons of little highlights and shadows that have that type of contrast that's going to draw our eye in anyway. This is no doubt when you pull up this photograph, this is the first thing you see. And then immediately you see the angry face. So this again is one of the best examples of Pareidolia that there is. I really wish Dennis was here to talk about this. Does anybody know where is this, like a tree in his yard, or anybody know? Okay. Well, again, lots of wonderful things I think happening here, but the choice of editing and the lighting that was going on really does make the angry face look angrier. It was a good approach. Once you found the face on the tree and you said, "Hey, I'm going to take a picture of this tree because this, fits the bill for, the assigned category." To have that light, it looks like the light's coming down from below. And then to use vignetting to really highlight that face was, again, a really good choice. All right. Any questions or comments about this photo?
I
No,
would
this is one of my favorite ones. I love that, those markings on that tree. Man, once you see that, you can't unsee that.
Yeah, you can't. And the crooked smile, I think, is what really
Yeah.
makes it. The crooked frown. It's not a smile at all. It's a frown. But
Yeah.
it's and then the eyes are a little off. Yeah, yeah, it's a fun photo. Okay, so that is the end of the assigned section. So let me tell you my rankings. Great was my third choice. It's a great photo. I love the simplicity of it. There's no question what you're looking at. It's a perfect example of the assigned category, and it was well done. I'm glad that there's not, unlike a lot of other things that we've been looking at, there's not a lot of visual distractions going on. The tree is number 2. Again, the decision to light this tree and to edit it the way that it looks enhances the anger. It's a fun photograph, but it's also I don't know, it triggers the imagination in fun ways. And my number 1 from the category is the rabbit. This is just an absolutely gorgeous photograph in so many ways. There's a lot of interesting things going on, but it's actually the rabbit itself. With like the grape seems like a mechanical thing. That the tree is angry, and maybe I could relate to that because it's organic. But this is interesting because you're cutting into something and discovering something inside of a tree, and the way that all these textures and holes and the knots all just work together to create that face is undeniable. So there you have it. Rabbit number 1, tree number 2, and great number 3 from that category. So moving on to the open category. Again, these are in no particular order. I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit on this. Hang on a second. Almost Sunset at Little Jerusalem by Bill Shelf. Here we go. Hang on a second. All right. Let's see if I can make this even a little bit bigger on my desktop. This is an absolutely gorgeous photo. I was approached by someone, a photographer, a local photographer, a few years ago. His name's Craig McCord. I don't know if anybody knows him. And he does a lot of landscape photos that are black and white, and have a lot of this kind of detail in them, and they're absolutely exquisite. This is right in line with that. When I was, if it tells you anything, when I was talking to Craig, he actually asked me to look at his photographs and to make recommendations because he was about to have them published in a book. So he had a lot of wonderful photographs. This is magical. This photograph is absolutely beautiful. Obviously the space is beautiful, so you're capturing that, but the way that the clouds are beautifully lit. I feel like you've got the perfect exposure here. You've got your highlights, but you've got all those gray tones that you really want to have, especially in the sky. And then, of course, there's so much going on in the rocks themselves. Again, this is visually, when you're looking at the rocks, it's kind of a busy photograph, but it's a little bit more interesting than just busy. There's a lot of details, highlights and shadows, with not a lot of midtones. And again, I'm talking about the rocks down here right now, that are kind of in that mid, you've got your foreground, you've got your middle ground, that would be the middle ground. The lines in the rocks, I started to kind of get lost in that, and suddenly you start thinking about how rocks are formed, and the different layers throughout history, and how that comes down. There's just a lot to look at in this photograph, even though it might come across as a simple landscape photo. I don't think there's anything overly simple about it. It's beautifully done. There is a definitive foreground with the grass up front, that middle ground, and then of course the sky in the background is just gorgeous. It was well put together. It was well edited. I feel like if Ansel Adams were looking at it, he would say your gray zones are represented well. Yeah, this is a really wonderful photo. Where is this?
That's in western Kansas, Little Jerusalem National Park.
Okay. Interesting.
If you haven't been there, it's well worth going out to see.
Is it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you, when you were taking this photograph, was the sky even part of the option? Was that, was the sky part of what you were trying to get, or did that just did you just kind of luck out?
I think I just kind of lucked out. They were
Okay.
just that way on that day.
Okay.
You don't always get clouds out there, so we were kind of lucky to get those conditions.
Yeah, it had those clouds add a very specific mystique to this photograph.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is absolutely beautiful.
And,
It's a great
and,
shot.
and,
Great
and
shot.
Bill, did you bracket for this picture?
No, not that one.
Oh, okay.
Well, the exposure, I think was dead on, and then of course I think your editing has been done really well.
Thank you.
Really well. You know, there's certain cases, you know, those rocks do kind of pop out from the background even more so. So, yeah, good job. There's the outline of the rocks. You can see that as it pops out from the background. I don't know if that's an editing thing or if I don't know how that came about, but the way you conflated the exposure level of the sky and the exposure level of the rocks is really good. This is where honestly, this is where HDR was born from. How many times have you taken a shot and the rocks are great, but the sky is blown out, or the sky
Right.
looks great, but the earth is dark. So yeah, this is a great combination of both.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Any other questions or comments about this one
Yeah.
before I move?
Yeah, Bill, I got one comment for you. First off, beautiful shot. I love it. The other thing that really caught my eye on this, and I know you didn't plan this, you didn't anticipate it, but if you look at those two peaks that are kind of forward on that formation, and look at those clouds come out of the background of those peaks, and then in the background you got another one, a linear one going across there, kind of creates a connective
Right.
triangle between all those. Those clouds are just gorgeous on there.
Yeah, I got real lucky on that day.
Yeah,
That is a
you did.
beautiful photograph.
Calvin, it's interesting that you would point that out because when I first saw this photograph, I hadn't quite in my head realized that I had jumped out of the assigned category. I was in the open category. So I'm looking for Pareidolia and that's the first thing I caught was that bizarre, it's like a triangle. It almost looks like a Concorde jet in the shadows between the clouds. It's coming out of there. I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, I thought that was interesting. But then when I realized this is open category and we're not looking for that, that's when I started to realize how much the clouds are really adding to that photo. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay, moving on. This is Misty Fog by Dennis Lindell. This is one of the most dreamy photos I think I've ever seen. One of the reasons, there are lots of reasons why I say this is dreamy. I mean, this is no doubt slow shutter speed. We've got this wonderful, very soft element to the water and what's going on. But to me, this almost looks like a student photo from the dark room where I don't know what this is. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing with my cursor, but there's a line that goes at a slight diagonal up through the picture that it almost looks like the negative was like a negative that had been, there is something there. It's a reflection. And I say that because there's an eye, but I don't know what that is. I couldn't figure this out. There's a reflection in the middle of this, and it adds a mystique to what I'm seeing otherwise. Do you all know what I'm looking at?
Yeah, it almost looks
Yeah.
like it's fogged or something, doesn't it? Like maybe
It does
it's
look, yeah, this whole
4
thing
by
right
5
here.
inch. Yeah,
But the eyes right here, the eye, that's what threw me.
yeah.
And this is where I just thought, what am I looking at? So already I have what I would consider to be, I mean, it's a very, this is almost like a movie set. And there's another photograph that I'm going to describe that way too, but this looks almost like a movie set. This, you can almost see this being the opening of a scene from, you know, like a 1950s Creature from the Black Lagoon kind of thing. It's very dreamy. It really invites you to kind of step into your imagination a little bit. But this eye right there is the one thing that it's almost a visual distraction for me. I keep coming back to it, but at the same time, I find myself wondering how the photograph was put together. And as I tell my art students all the time, there's actually scientific research that shows that when people go to an art museum, that they'll spend more or less than 5 seconds, like 4.8 seconds, with any one particular artwork before they move on to the next work. So the question is, how do you create a piece that people will remember? You know, when you're looking at that many pieces of work that fast, they say, you know, if you're driving home and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I remember that one piece that was in the room, that, you know, the misty fog with the eye in it. If that's what I'm thinking of when I'm going home, that's how you win at making art, right? That's kind of like a hook to a song. It gets in your head and you can't stop thinking about it. This eye is something I have not stopped thinking about. And I can't tell if it plagues the picture for me or if it puts it over the top. So Dennis isn't here again, right?
That's correct.
Dennis is working tonight.
Okay. I would love to ask a lot of questions about, first of all, the eye and that reflection or whatever that is going across the center of this. But also, you know, what inspired him to take that shot. Some of the lighting that is really interesting in the waterfalls. I don't know if I'm guessing he almost had to highlight it because the highlights that are in the center here are so much brighter than they are up here. And this doesn't look like vignetting or anything else. It really kind of looks natural. I don't know, he might have darkened this side. I don't know. I'm curious to see how he put this together, but I will say it is an intriguing photograph. And it's also one of my favorites from the open category. Just, I can get lost in this photograph. There's a lot going on. So questions, or does anybody have any comments or questions about this one?
Beautiful shot.
It is. It absolutely is. It's, like I said, it's something right out of a movie set.
It almost looks like it's like a reflection. It's like you see like there's an A, it looks like, near the eye. So maybe that was like a window.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because it does look a little like fuzzy in some areas, and normally like a nature scene would not look fuzzy in like this
Oh,
region.
yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, and it's not necessarily a depth of field. I don't know. I'd be curious to know how it was edited.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the you know, the blurriness from the movement of the water just is a shutter speed, I'm sure, but I don't know. I doggone it. I wish he wasn't working tonight. I wish he was here. I've got lots of questions, and I'd be curious to pick his brain on this one. It's a beautiful shot. Okay, so moving on to the next open, the Old Rusty Truck. This is by Tom Wedbush. I'm gonna actually zoom out just a little bit. Okay, this is absolutely one of my favorite photographs from the entire series. This almost could qualify as pareidolia. This almost just looks like a face. However, there's something about the piece itself that seems clean. This almost looks like a set from Green Acres back in the 60s or Hee Haw. You know, I could see, you know, action happening in front of this sitting in the background. It's beautifully lit. The way things are set up is really it seems like it was almost well put together. Like it was supposed to be a movie set somehow. You've got this tree stump in front, you've got the, you know, the bushes off to the right hand side, but even the corrugated metal in the background, you know, there's some rust on it, but it actually doesn't look bad. It's a nice kind of a flat textured. I mean, it looks like it's probably rusted a little bit. Obviously, you know, the vents on this truck front or car front, you know, they're bent a little bit. It's not perfect, but otherwise it looks like it's somehow clean. I know it's junk out in the field, but
It is.
it really, it looks clean to me. Where did you take this?
Well, again, this was in New Mexico. We were on our way to the Great Array out
Okay.
there, and this was just a little town. I can't remember the name of it. I mean, it's just like you just go through it. But there was this antique shop sitting there, and of course, my wife, she always wants to go look at crap. So anyway, we stopped, and she was in the shop itself, but out in the back, they had a whole bunch of just, I mean, old cans of, you know, 5-gallon cans of paint and old car parts. And down below, you can kind of see that handle. That was the handle of an old red wagon. And it's just, I mean, just that's what it was. And that corrugation in the back, that was the fence between them and
Mhm.
the neighboring, their neighbor. So
Yeah.
I got a lot of weird shots out of walking through the yard.
I'll bet you did. I'll
Yeah.
bet you did. But again, I will also come back and say this is also a really perfectly exposed photograph. There are so many wonderful midtones throughout this entire piece. You know, your highlights, there's only a few really bright highlights, and they're not too bright. I mean, they're exactly where you would expect them to be. Your darks, you know, your shadows are definitely black, but you've got all the grays. And it's just beautiful. There's so much going on. This is just a well-made photograph.
Thank
Very
you.
well-made photograph. Yeah.
Tom,
Also-
Tom, I also really like this photo. I would just say maybe the black's maybe just a little bit darker. That's just my
Really?
personal opinion. I guess I just like it like just like deep, like black maybe.
Do you like Spencer, do you like contrast?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I could see that. This is, yeah, this photograph is not for the contrast lovers. I say that. Right here, when I'm looking at a photograph, like for my students, and what I talk to my students about is you always want to look for the darkest place in the photograph and the lightest place.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then ask yourself, is it reasonable that this is a photograph that may not actually have a black point and a white point? And sometimes it happens. I feel like, you know, when I'm looking at the blacks, it's, you know, like down in here, these shadows that are down in the corner, I feel like the blacks are definitely there, but I know what you're talking about. If you're someone that likes contrast, you want more of those darker grays to fade into that black. And I could see that. And in all fairness, I think if you were to play with the contrast, the grill itself would start to pop. It would pop out. Personally, though, I think just from a you know, honest to the moment, being honest to the moment kind of photograph, I think this is it. And this is where I go back to, this looks like it could have come off the set of Hee Haw or Green Acres or something like that, you know, when I was a kid. Yeah, these are, I think it's a very well-made photograph. Yeah,
Thank you.
like a lot. Other questions or comments about this one?
Yeah, Tom, you don't have any idea what that grill is off of, do you? Looks like it might be an old truck of some type, but
It is an old truck. I have no idea because I think the emblem is gone, whatever it was.
right.
It's probably a Volvo.
Oh, I don't know.
A Volvo
I don't know.
semi.
I haven't been able to place that. You know, the other point I like about this is look what that grill is sitting in.
Yeah, it's in a wash tub.
Yeah, it's an old round wash tub.
Yeah.
That is fitting.
It is. It is. In fact, when I realized that, do you remember the wash grates that they used to have in the wash tubs? Those the metal, weighty metal. I thought this whole the blinds or whatever you want to call that, those lines in the truck bed kind of reminded me of the old washboard. I think that's what they're called. which was turned into an instrument on Hee Haw. So
Yeah.
Yeah, little scrub board.
yeah. All right. Any other
Very
questions
cool.
or comments? All
Great
right.
shot, son.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
shot. Great shot. Moving on. This is One Happy Family by Calvin. Calvin, this is one of the more disturbing photographs I've seen in a while. These creatures, here's the reason. There are two things about this photograph that I really couldn't get past. And one of them is that if you had these creatures, if you had placed them like in nature, or you were trying to create a diorama where these creatures were in part of like a fantasy fairy tale or something, I think people's ability to relate to the creatures might be easier, because now there's a story there. There's a family of, these little, whatever they are, that are out there trying to survive. But the fact that these are cracked, they have these wicked eyes, and especially this one down below, I don't know what's going on with the eyes on that particular one. This almost looks like there's a human being trapped inside of a mask trying to look out. And the very bottom, this bottom creature that's laying down, there is something that just upsets the senses about this. And part of it is because you've removed it from any context. Because this is sitting on a board, probably in front of a white wall or on a shelf, maybe. Now we've taken the fantasy out of it, and now these are just objects probably owned by a human being that are now sitting on a shelf, which is absolutely fine. But it changes the way that the viewer is going to relate to the creatures themselves. And now we start to ask the question, or I do anyway, start to ask the question of who bought these, and like who wanted, like, what was the attachment? And when someone walked up and saw these things, it's like, these are going to be perfect for my shelf. Like, how does one relate? I got to ask, Calvin, where did these things come from?
You're familiar with the troll dolls that you can find?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
These are Norwegian troll dolls.
Okay.
And my wife is an avid doll collector. And
Okay.
yeah, these do sit on her shelf out here. The frog was a freebie. He was sitting out there down on one end of the shelf, just occupying space. I thought, hey, I'll stick a frog in here. He looks like he's fit. Yeah, I would have liked to have been able to take these out and put them outside against something, backdrop or something. But yeah, it's actually just sitting on two mounting boards, one on one flat and one standing up. But yeah, these are Norwegian trolls, and I can tell you that those three in the background are worth quite a bit of money. We didn't
Really?
get more than 10 bucks a piece for them. They're worth a lot of money.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. I knew there had to be, nobody is going to make something like this unless there's a reason to make something that, I'm not trying to be offensive, but I think the word is hideous. I mean, these things they're not meant to be, something that you cuddle up at night with, right? So, go ahead.
Actually, I think speaking of like going to bed at night, I think it'd be great if you put these like in the closet, and then like of your bedroom, and then had like the door slightly open and have just like a sliver of light just come in.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Like, there's like these like little monsters that will scare like your kids at night.
Yeah, because in the United States, everybody calls these ugly trolls.
Yeah.
But if you go to Europe, they're a dime a dozen over there. You come over to the States and they're expensive.
Do you know what culturally they're used for? I mean, why would somebody make these?
Well, why would they make a troll doll? That's the same thing. Only Norwegians, this is their style of a troll doll.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they make them over there. They're crazy about them over there. Yeah, they are hideous.
Yeah, hideous.
But that's one reason my wife liked these so much, because they're so damn ugly.
Yeah.
And like I say, those, you can't really see it, but that one on the right, he actually has a tail with a hairy bob at the end of his tail, and that one laying down, he has a tail too, and he's got a hairy bob that's just barely visible there between the two right behind him, but he actually has a tail.
It kind of looks like, when I see hair in you know, down here. I assumed that's what that was. Yeah. But I also, you know, can't get past, you know, the eyes on these. I've just never seen, and I say that all of these eyes seem similar, but what is going on with this one?
That's a good question. Don't know. He's kind of the odd man out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I hate to say it, but this looks like one of those, you know, scenes from like a Scooby-Doo cartoon where someone's looking through the eyes in a painting. You know, it
sure.
looks like someone's wearing a mask.
Right.
Those almost look
I
like
just
human
put these
eyes.
together, make a portrait of them.
Okay. Well, it was an interesting subject. I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. And I'm interested to hear more about. I really now I'm curious about the Norwegians and or Europeans just in general and their fascination with troll dolls. You know, in the United States, it seemed like the troll dolls were a little bit more cutesy, right? They were cartoonish with
Right.
the hair that stuck straight up, you know, with colorful
Right.
hair, very flesh tone, right? But these are things that are supposed to haunt you at night. I'm just kind of wondering, you know, I feel like there's probably a cultural answer there, or you know, a
Yeah,
story.
I've never found the reason why they created this type of doll.
Yeah.
I've never found any reason for it. Just somebody made them. There's a lot of still made today that are handmade, and those are very expensive. They'll sell for thousands a piece.
Right.
These are mass produced. And I'll tell you this: my wife is such an avid collector of dolls, and I'm talking about all kinds of dolls. When I go into our bedroom, there are 1,000 little eyes looking back at me.
Yeah.
She has
Okay.
got dolls everywhere. She's got, in fact, she's got them all over the house. But she is a doll collector, and she can walk into a store, she look at a doll, say, "Yeah, that's worth some money," and it might be filthy and half beat up. She'll bring it home, clean it up, redo its hair, put new clothes on it, and it doesn't look like the same animal that she brought home.
That's cool.
But that's her niche in life,
That's
collecting dolls.
cool. Well, good for her. I mean, really, you know, we all have to have our thing, and good for her for being able to recognize these. Like I said, you know, hideous was the word that came to mind, and I don't often think to buy that, but then I don't think about the value of it. But now I'm definitely curious about the cultural relevance. So,
Yeah,
all
we
right.
weren't thinking about value when we bought them. We were just buying, when she bought them, she said, "Oh, these are so ugly, they're cute. I'm taking them home."
Cute's not the
So,
word I would use, but that's okay. We all have our own preferences.
oh
All
yeah.
right. Any other questions or comments about this one? Okay. All right. Moving on.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
That is exactly right. That is
Right.
exactly right. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. All right. Next, in the open category, this is Robot Number 2 by Bill Staudenmeier. This is, again, there's a lot going on with this photograph. I first thought of Pareidolia immediately because I was looking for eyes before I realized it was an open category. This is an interesting photograph from a composition standpoint. And I say that because I don't normally break things down into geometric shapes. That's something that, you know, we tend to do, you know, when we critique a photograph, if it's relevant. And in this case, it seems to be. Whatever this material is, this black material that is over what looks, I'm guessing this is the floor of or some type of stamped metal, probably from a car.
Right.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So this material that's over the lower right-hand corner, and it's got some cutout shapes to it. And then there's another piece that's right above it. There's another piece in the very bottom lower left-hand corner right down here. There's this piece, and then there's this piece. Really, I think those additions to the body is what makes this photograph. The black and the way that black stands out against not only the gray, but the way that the black, I'm going to say, recarries the contour of the vehicle, which creates highlights and shadows, right? I mean, we can see where the metal's stamped, so we can follow lines like this line right here, but then we follow it into the black zone, and it's just interesting to see how those highlights and shadows change. but all of a sudden you've got a square here and a square here with a cutout, and then you've got two circles with these lines that are moving through it. In its own right, I'm going to take that off. This is a really interesting composition. The thing that threw me off was this little bit in the upper right hand corner, that curve. Is that the edge of the body?
No, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at it.
Okay.
What what I took a picture of actually was the floorboard in my car. It got flooded in a rainstorm. So anyway, I pulled the rug up, and that you might be right. That might be the edge of the body, but I cropped it. I don't remember what it is.
Okay. The only reason why I mention that is because you've got this curve. The shadow itself at the very top of this is curved, and so that gives us an idea of how the object, whatever it is that we're looking at, how it's formed. This is now what seems to be a much larger outer edge, and I think the shadow, especially with these circles here at the very top, it just is an interesting part of that composition. I think if I had initially taken this photograph, I probably initially would have cropped that part out and just kept the bottom part of this and just kept maybe the top 1/8 inch. I might have cropped out. But after thinking about it, I take that back. I really think that curve does lend itself to the fact that there are circles at the top. There's a couple of circles down here. There's some squares in here. It's just the way that the body versus that material sitting on top of the body is reflecting the light. It has a different texture. It has a different, I feel like the highlights are just as bright, but the shadows are much darker. It's just an interesting photograph visually, from just a standpoint of geometrical shapes and elements that are happening here. It's one of those almost tactile photos where I feel like I can reach down and I can feel the lip of that material, and I can feel the floorboard, itself, and the stamped metal. You said it flooded?
Yeah, I've got a Nissan Versa, and for some stupid reason, the way they put in the vents on the above the hood there, if it rains real hard, it leaks water in there. I've since, I think, fixed it, but there's like a small gutter underneath. It's supposed to drain it out, but the holes are too large in the grate, so it gets like seeds and dirt and everything else in there. And it came through the filter, cabin filter, and anyway, it took quite a while to dry it out.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can imagine that's true. What made you take this photo? I mean, did you just look at this and think that's an interesting composition?
Yeah, I kind of did, and
Yeah.
I just also at the time I wanted to see if anything was going to get rusty. I left it open for quite a while.
Okay. Well, it makes sense. The lighting is also something that I wasn't expecting. Based on your story, a lot of people will get into a car with like a flashlight or something that's got more of a harsh single point. And the lighting is, I'm not going to say completely even. It's not. It falls off, but it feels a little diffused somehow. I don't know if that's the material that's just carrying the light across it. But it's a beautiful, the lighting in this is just as beautiful. Yeah, this is a good shot. It's a great shot. I love it.
Thank you.
Questions or comments about this one?
I thought this was a pareidolia too when I looked at it. Was that little square down there in the bottom right? You just cropped in on that real tight. You almost got the image of two eyes and a nose down there, on that part. But yeah, it is. That's interesting because all these textures and
Almost
shapes.
almost looks like the face of an owl.
Right, it does. Yeah.
I would crop it at the top so it's just a clean line. That's what I would have.
There?
Yeah, like right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Like I said, I think that would have been my first instinct, but you know, after looking at all the different shapes, like I said, it didn't bother me as much, but
Yeah.
I can see where you could make that argument, I guess. Okay. All right. I think this is the last one. This is Vibes. This is by you, Spencer. Oh, did it again.
And it's gone.
All right, let me zoom out just a little bit. All right, I love this photograph. This is one of another one of my favorites from especially the open category. A lot of people, when they look for things to photograph, don't focus initially on the negative space. Photographers tend to get lost in objecthood, where we're going to take a picture of the bridge or the object or the thing or the whatever. But a lot of times we do miss the negative space that sometimes is created here. This is just a wonderful photograph because the sky is there's a shape to the sky, and it's created by the bridges, right? This beautiful triangular composition, you know, that comes down and it swoops down just so elegantly at the bottom of the frame here. You know, when you stand at a distance, this is the type of thing that if you don't know what you're looking at immediately, it's going to cause you to be curious and to come in and look, and then you'll figure out pretty quickly it's a bridge. But then you can start to appreciate some of the other elements in the photograph. Spencer, this is where I could definitely see that you like contrast. The shadows on the underside of the bridge are really dark. There's some information that's lost, but to be perfectly honest, I'm going to agree with the decision to edit this the way that you did or to present it this way, because I feel like the lines, and if you really get in here and you look, you can see some of the work that's under the bridge. You can see some things that are happening. But I feel like if those shadows were lightened a little bit, then it would be a visual distraction from the main visual element of that triangle that's coming down into the middle of the photograph. It's absolutely beautiful. And I haven't spent really a lot of time thinking about it, but I have to admit, I love this little bit of light that's coming through the bottom of the bridge down below where you can see what looks like brickwork. I think that's beautiful as well. Where was this photograph taken, if you don't mind me asking?
This is taken underneath the well, which highway is it? I think it's like the 670 bridge in the West Bottoms. You know, like where where they'll have like events underneath these two bridges. And I was actually just like practicing with my mannequin head and some flashes, so that they would not like fall over, because I've never tried out like flashes and umbrellas outside because they've like fell over. But yeah, so I was just practicing with that, and then I saw this. I was like, wow, I'm gonna take some pictures of this.
Nice.
And actually about the contrast, Aaron, I really didn't think my like photos were like that contrasty, and then I looked at like other photographers' work. I'm like, oh, I like these photographers, and I'm like, why what's different in my pictures? And it's like the contrast and like the clarity, and I wasn't really doing a whole lot of that.
Okay.
So I've recently been doing more of that.
I can absolutely see that. You know, when I go back to what I was talking about, helping Craig McCord look at his photographs before he made his book. His photographs are high contrast, incredibly high contrast, which is great. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, contrast, it obviously serves a purpose. My students will abuse the S curve in Photoshop badly, but you know, contrast does make things pop off the screen, right? And again, it's when you look at the psychology of what human beings do when we look at a photograph, contrast is going to bring us in. But that's the cool thing about this particular photograph, is that the contrast is there anyway. You've got the sky, which is going to be your light source, and of course this beautiful cloud that's in the middle of it that's got all kinds. You're rewarded for coming in and looking at the photograph closer. Like I said, from a distance, you just kind of see this triangle, but then you get in here and you start to see, you know, the beautiful, intricate patterns that are in the clouds. You can see, you know, the street lights, you know, that are sticking up. There's a lot of beautiful things that are actually happening in this photo. And it's clean. It's very clean. But the fact is, the light that is on the other side of that bridge that is shining is going to put the bridge in shadow, right? I mean, anytime you take a picture of a subject, when there's a light that's behind them, you're just going to get shadow. That's why it's a silhouette. So it would make sense that, underneath this bridge would be pure shadow anyway. But that's, I think, part of what makes the photograph itself. I will also say that the highlight that runs along the bridges, there's two lines here that are absolutely beautiful, that also, from a distance, draw people in. It's like it almost looks like a triangular object that's got edges or something. And then you come in and you realize what you're looking at. Definitely one of my favorites. Definitely
Thank you.
one of my favorites. Yeah. Okay, I think that's the last one, is it? I don't have any more open here.
Hey, Spencer,
Yeah.
that area down there that Aaron was talking about underneath the bridge down in the lower left corner, that area down there where it's kind of
Yes.
highlighted.
Yeah.
That right there with that lighting, if you were in closer to that one little area right there and took everything else out of the element, you got a whole other photograph right there.
Mhm.
I think I do have some other photographs of just like that vision.
Right. And the only other thing you could do to that, and maybe add something to the photo if you had it, is somebody with their back leaning against one of those pillars, kind of mostly silhouetted or shadowed.
That would be nice. Like a
That would,
like
I'm really drawn down to that corner. I'm like, my God, I want to see more of what's down there, because you got a whole nother photo right there. But yeah, it's a great shot.
thank you.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. All right, any other comments or questions about this one? All right, so that being the case, my top three from the open category, Old Rusty is number 3. Again, I feel like I have a personal connection to this just from growing up in the Midwest and having seen things like this before. It's a very well made photograph. Love this photograph. Number 2 is Vibes. This is a wonderful photograph from just a distance. That triangular shape really brought me in from the outside. And again, I feel like I got rewarded for looking deeper into the picture, zooming in and looking at some of the details. There's all the lines in the brick. And again, it's very clean. And then finally, number 1 is Misty Fog. And again, there is something very mysterious about this. This is one of the photographs that I will think about, I'm sure, as I go to sleep tonight. That, and of course, the trolls. But anyway, the Misty Fog from the open category is my number 1. So that's it.
Cool. Aaron, thank you very much
Thank you, Aaron.
Sure.
Yeah.
for your comments.
I got it.
Over here. Yeah, really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. Would you be interested in coming back again in another year to look at one of our other entries?
Always.
Okay.
I love this. This is a good time for me.
Yeah, and like I say, this is one group I love being associated with, because everybody is open with their ideas and their thoughts, how they did this or how they did that, and ways ways they would do it different. That's one of the greatest things about this club, I believe, is how everybody will share with one another, their ideas or techniques even. So that's yeah, this is a lot of fun. I love it.
Yeah, good.
Anybody else got anything? Any other comments? Okay, well, I will
No.
give you just not that I'm looking for any sympathy here, but I'll give you a fast update of where I'm at. They got me so doped up these days, I'm having a hard time even moving around the house without falling over. So I don't move around much. trying to get the medications tweaked out, trying to get that figured out. My God, I want to get back outside and do some work out in the yard and do some stuff outside. Right now, I'm afraid to even try it because I'll be doing a face plant out there in the middle of the yard somewhere. I did get out today and help my wife with one little thing. She about freaked out the whole time I was doing it, but we did it. We got it done. But I've got some heavier work out there I need to get done. I'm just afraid to get out there right now and do it because I'm so loopy right now. I can't. I'm having a hard time standing on my own 2 feet from all these medications they got me on. So anyway, we're going to try to get that stuff ironed out in the next couple of weeks. And I'm getting tired of these damned appointments or one hospital or the next hospital, this doctor, that doctor. I got another appointment Friday. I just had one here a couple days ago, and I'm like, my God, when are these things going to end? So anyway, plugging along.
Well, good luck with all that, Calvin.
Yeah,
I'll
good
be
luck.
around for a long time. It's just getting there.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with chronic heart failure here a while back, Aaron.
Okay.
So, but they're telling me it's reversible. So we caught it early.
Good.
Now it's a matter of playing volleyball with these damn drugs they got me on. My God, they got me on all kinds of stuff.
All right, fellas, everybody have a great evening.
All righty, Bill, it's
Bill.
good to
See
see
you
you
next
again.
time.
All
Nice to
right.
see
Travis,
you all.
appreciate your help. Aaron, appreciate
you,
you
Aaron.
doing this for us.
You bet. Always happy to do it. This is always fun for me.
Great.
Thanks, Aaron.
Hey, you bet.
Yeah, Trav, take care.
All right, see you guys.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
See you.
Keep shooting.
Oh, thank you.
Keep shooting,
Will do.
buddy. You do great. You do great work.
Thank you. Will do. Adios.
All righty.